New progress has been made as John digs beneath the giveaway marker on a recent episode on Lost Gold of World War. In their search for Yamashita's treasure, John and his colleagues are currently searching a cave located in the Philippines. They stumble across a rock that is etched with an X, and they speculate that it may either conceal a little treasure or indicate the location of the entrance to a network of tunnels. On the other hand, they feel it to be too simple and suspicious, so they choose to be cautious and refrain from digging just yet. Using a metal detector, they initially locate a large target, which leads them to the discovery of a marker that indicates the presence of a bomb. They bring in an explosives expert by the name of Chad to assess the issue since they are concerned about their safety. John digs beneath the giveaway marker. They start digging around the rock that has an X on it as soon as Chad decides it is safe to do so, and the first item of treasure they find is a coin. They are both thrilled and perplexed by the fact that it can be found at such a great altitude on the mountain. They search the area with a metal detector and come across a sizable target. However, before they can proceed with their investigation, they come across a marker that signals the presence of a bomb. Chad, an explosives expert, is brought in because they are concerned about their safety and want him to evaluate the issue. They begin excavating around the rock that is marked with an X after receiving Chad's authorization to do so, and they find their first piece of treasure, which is a coin. They are thrilled, but at the same time they don't understand how it got so far up the mountain. A distinctive activity practiced by the Filipinos is the never-ending search for the fabled gold of General Yamashita. Amateur treasure seekers can be found practically everywhere in the United States. They can be found excavating house posts, peering under flagpoles, or exploring tunnels in the hopes of making a fortune. If you ask any Filipino, they would weave you a good narrative about an uncle or a friend of a friend who was sure that they knew exactly where X marked the site, even if they had no way of verifying their claim. The story goes that during World War II, the Japanese stole millions of dollars worth of war bullion from the territories they held. This is according to the legend. It was decided that the Philippines would be the best spot to bury the riches since the Japanese headquarters, under General Yamashita, believed that the Philippines would never again fall under enemy control. At the end of the war, however, Allied and Filipino soldiers forced the Imperial Army into a hasty retreat, which resulted in Yamashita's gold being left behind in a number of sites that are currently unknown. The problem is that there is insufficient evidence from the past to support the idea that any of this gold genuinely exists in a material form. The Supreme Command of the Philippines that was established by General Yamashita was established extremely late in the war, at a time when the Japanese were mostly shut off from land and sea, which made it almost impossible to convey wealth. There is no mention of gold in any of the messages that have been decrypted that were sent by the Japanese military. Why then do people continue to engage in something that is clearly certain to fail? And what exactly is the motivation behind the national fixation? What a lot of people don't realize is that the Filipinos have been hunting for mythological fortunes for quite some time. The only difference is that each generation imagines the reward in a different way. These tales have captivated me despite the fact that I am not a native of the Philippines because of what they genuinely indicate about the post-colonial national psyche rather than the location of the misplaced wealth. The hunt for treasure is more akin to a search for explanations, justice, and hope than it is unbridled panic. The stories, at their core, are about the unfair withholding of resources from receivers who are more than deserving of them, and they almost always correspond to times of colonial occupation and political repression. When viewed in this context, the search for mythological riches may be interpreted as an unfulfilled desire for future financial rewards. When times are tough and there is a significant wealth gap between groups of people, it is easy to believe that one family's good fortune was due to the finding of long-lost treasure, while the fortunes of their neighbors remained unchanged. If the current social order is a cruel and unchangeable class structure, then it is entirely sensible to explain riches as a matter of chance rather than one's own efforts to get it. Therefore, it should not come as a surprise that Ferdinand Marcos is sometimes portrayed as a conspirator in the process of recovering Japanese gold. There is a story that during the time that Marcos was in power, a poor farmer unearthed a golden statue of Buddha as he was working in his field. However, the Marcos regime forcibly took possession of this wonderful find. Is there a more straightforward metaphor that can be used to explain how the rich exploit the economies of the poor? It is also probable that these stories are not merely a way of bemoaning the loss of financial riches, but are also a way of accounting for a perceived loss of intangible legacy. This is something that needs to be taken into consideration. In modern parlance, the term colonial mentality refers to a form of cultural inferiority complex that may be traced back to times when local populations were ruled by outsiders. Or, to put it another way, as Rizal attempted to explain it all the way back in 1889, the Filipino people gave up their writing, their songs, their poems, and their laws and became ashamed of what was their own. They began to admire and praise whatever was foreign and incomprehensible. Their spirit was dismayed and it surrendered. Treasure tales serve as a reminder that the nation possesses a hidden and priceless riches that has not yet been fully actualized, which serves to improve morale and encourage people. After all, Philippine archaeologists continue to bring us knowledge of the archipelago's distant past, despite the predations of unlicensed treasure hunters. While historians, artists, and narrators of folktales creatively preserve and rework the songs, poems, and laws that were presumed to have been lost, these songs, poems, and laws were thought to have been lost. The rich cultural legacy and distinct character of the Philippines is a priceless resource that is easily within our reach. It is imperative that we acknowledge it before we go and obliterate it in our chase of a shimmering mirage. The group is updated with fresh information regarding the possible worth of Yamashita's gold and discusses a location known as Breach 6 as a prospective target. They gather information using a drone equipped with a magnetometer and decide to begin digging in the vicinity of an anomaly that indicates the presence of a tunnel. In spite of the challenges presented by the unstable soil, they were able to create a reinforced steel shaft and locate a concrete slab, which may have been the beginning of a tunnel. As they are ready to break through the concrete and maybe unearth the long-lost treasure, their level of excitement continues to rise. John Casey and his crew receive new information about the potential value of Yamashita's gold from the researcher Bingo Minerva. According to estimates, there may still be treasure worth hundreds of billions of dollars hidden in the mountains. According to the findings of Bingo's investigation, the treasure may not only consist of gold, but also jewels, gems, and coins that are concealed within burlap sacks and crates. Breach 6, an area of interest that Colonel Corey and his team had previously investigated, is another topic that is discussed by the squad. The fact that there are ominous tales about prior treasure hunters falling ill or passing away in the region adds to the risks associated with the location. The group has come to the conclusion that the best way to analyze the issue is to send out a drone equipped with a magnetometer to gather information and locate a dig site that is both safe and accurate. Subscribe now for more interesting new discoveries and turn on post notification to be alerted on the next post. The investigation team finds 3 anomalies in the region, and they believe those anomalies point to the existence of a tunnel. They are convinced that they are on top of something major, so they make the decision to dig in the area close to the larger anomaly. However, they run into problems because of the unstable soil, which leads to the construction of a reinforced steel shaft for safety purposes. During the course of the building, they came upon a concrete slab that may or may not be part of a Japanese tunnel. During World War II, the Japanese utilized a cement mix that was quite similar to the one that is used today. As they are ready to break through the concrete and maybe unearth the long-lost treasure, their level of excitement continues to rise. Following the completion of all of the procedures, the group headed into a corner and attempted to gain access to the treasure. They are really excited because they think that they may have discovered the entrance to a tunnel that was hidden behind the concrete covering. They have reason to believe that they are getting closer to figuring out how to enter inside the mountain so that they can find the gold that was lost. Shocking discovery that leaves research team stunned. Click on the next video now to find out more. Research team has discovered treasure maps and the danger to come. Could these maps finally be the answer to all the unanswered questions about this treasure? Bingo Minerva, the lead researcher, had a meeting with Chuck McDougall, who talks about his time spent in the Philippines and refers them to Robert Curtis, a treasure hunter who has maps relating to the missing riches. McDougall and Curtis commenced their search in Fort Santiago after receiving permission to do so from President Aquino. During their time there, they discover marble and flecks of gold. Nevertheless, their excavation is suddenly halted which has led to rumors that political influence was involved. In addition, the team uncovered genuine treasure maps and danger was revealed, which show that the wealth is quite valuable. In spite of the obstacle, they have indicated that they are willing to go back to the Philippines in order to have the artifacts examined by experts. Bingo Minerva, the head researcher, has a meeting with Chuck McDougall, a guy who is connected to Robert Curtis and who headed a treasure expedition in the Philippines in 1988. The expedition was looking for a lost fortune. McDougall recounts his time spent in the Philippines, during which he was a witness to the widespread corruption that existed under Ferdinand Marcos's administration. In the end, McDougall discovered the name of Robert Curtis, who claimed to have maps relating to the missing riches. They were able to secure a permit from President Aquino and get started looking for gold at Fort Santiago, thanks to McDougall's contacts and Curtis's expertise. It is not apparent, however, whether or not they were successful in their search for riches during their journey. The excavation team discusses their findings at Fort Santiago, where they found marble and gold flakes at the 40-meter level. The finds were made at the same level. However, they were taken by surprise when the president issued the order to halt the excavation, which led to speculations that important senators were behind the action so that they could claim the wealth for themselves. In reality, the president had given the unexpected order to stop the excavation. The group also reveals that they were successful in collecting authentic treasure maps from Marcos's office, which strengthens the believability of their inquiry because it demonstrates that they have been paying attention to detail. The potential value of the treasure is astounding, as seen by these maps, and one place is thought to have treasure worth $5 billion in US money. The group was unable to travel back to the Philippines and reclaim any of the wealth that was there, despite the fact that they had the opportunity to do so. It is stated that if one follows the directions on the map, they will be able to locate buried Nazi riches that are worth millions of dollars and that were stolen from a bank by Hitler's troops. It is one of the hundreds of documents from World War that were once secret but have now been declassified and made available to the general public. The map that was said to contain clues to a never-found treasure was kept under wraps for a significant amount of time in the Netherlands National Archives. It is hypothesized that the assets that were stolen from the bank in the city of Arnhem were, among other things, watches, gems, and jewelry. It has been reported by the NL Times that it is thought that the map identifies the precise site in Gelderland where the stolen goods were hidden. It would appear that the treasure is buried somewhere in the vicinity of Omren and Linden, both of which are located in the Netherlands. According to a statement that was given by Annette Walkens of the National Archives, which was televised in the Netherlands, there was an explosion at a branch of the Rotterdamse Bank on the Velperweg during the defense of Arnhem. This information was provided by Annette Walkens. It was observed at the scene of the crime that German soldiers were slipping items into their coats. It is a widely held opinion that the riches was initially hidden in munitions boxes before being buried in Omeren. This theory has gained significant traction in recent years. There is a possibility that treasure hunters or the Nazis themselves tracked down the stolen items days or weeks after they conducted the crime and recovered them. The Dutch authorities tried to find it by bringing a Nazi officer back to the Netherlands, but their efforts were unsuccessful, and the items were never located. The documents also offer specifics on the that took place in concentration camps, in addition to minutes from meetings amongst cabinet ministers. According to a statement released by the National Archives, the archive contains harrowing stories of humiliation and revenge against this group of illicit Dutch people. The leg irons that were used to bind prisoners together, sometimes for weeks at a time, are visible proof of the frequently brutal conditions that existed in these post-war institutions. In addition to this, they stated, there are files about the resistance against the Japanese occupation, about conscientious objectors and deserters, and about a conspiracy against Captain Westerling. During the Battle of Arnhem in the Netherlands in 1944, German soldiers are said to have buried a haul of items that they had seized. The treasure map purports to illustrate where these valuables are buried. It asserts that the objects, which may include jewelry, watches, and diamonds, were buried close to the community of Omeren, which is located in the middle of the Gelderland region of the Netherlands. Along with hundreds of other documents pertaining to World War II, the map, which had been kept concealed for many years in the National Archives of the Netherlands, has recently been made available to the general public. According to the NL Times, despite the fact that a great number of searches have been carried out over the course of the years, In an effort to identify the haul's location, nothing has been found. On the other hand, it's possible that treasure hunters came across it first. It's also possible that random bystanders found it and didn't report it, or that Nazi scavengers found it before the war was done and didn't report it. Both of these scenarios are possible. During the heist at the bank, it was said that one specialist told a local television that German soldiers put loot in their coats. These papers also contain documentation from a committee that reviewed allegations of torture carried out at Dutch prison facilities geared towards individuals accused of collaborating with the enemy. The document contains harrowing descriptions of acts of torture, humiliation, and retribution that were carried out against a group of illicit Dutch people. During the decades that followed World War II, it was a popular pastime that, at one point, came perilously near to becoming a national obsession in a country where Japanese soldiers were accused of looting and hiding enormous sums of gold and other treasures during their control of the Philippines. During that time, the Philippines was under Japanese occupation. The Philippines were ruled by Japan during this time period, hence they were under their dominion. It is reported that General Tomoyuki Yamashita and his forces stored tons of gold and other seized valuables in underground caverns and tunnels in the northern section of the country, with the intention of retrieving all of it after the war was over. This is the premise around which a local tale is built. However, Japan did finally surrender, and after being captured by U.S. forces, Yamashita was tried for war crimes and sentenced to death. He was put to death in 1946, taking the mystery of the location of the gold heist with him to the grave with him. Subscribe now for more thrilling discoveries, and got that notification bell to be the first to know when the next exciting story is up. Years later, when Rogelio Rojas was still a youngster, he encountered a Japanese guy who told him that his father had fought as a soldier under Yamashita, and that his father had once drawn him a map indicating the buried riches. The man also informed Rogelio that his father had once given him the map. Treasure hunters have been known to let their imaginations run wild whenever they hear stories of buried Nazi loot. This is not the first time that this has happened. The year before, a disagreement erupted between those who were interested in finding Nazi gold and historians who claimed the fans were looking in the incorrect location. The Silesian Bridge Foundation had been conducting excavations on the grounds of a mansion built in the 18th century in the Polish village of Minkowski. They claimed that the grounds contained 200 million pounds worth of Nazi gold and other treasures that had been seized by Himmler's SS. The foundations claimed that the site was located in a war diary written by an SS officer near the conclusion of the Second World War, was the spark that set off the controversy. However, historians who were invited to verify the diaries by the organization stated that their examination was not completely positive. New discovery leaves research teams stunned. Find out more now by clicking on the next video.